So we have a really good opportunity to build our own wall, a wall of congressional resistance and representation, and to stop the policies of Donald Trump.
What a powerful film. I mean, it's not just about Dolores' activism, but as a mother, as a woman struggling in the 50s against the many obstacles. Can you tell us how you decided to tell her story, but in a different light than what you've been used to seeing?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could take full credit, for, hey, let's make that Dolores Huerta movie. But it was Carlos Santana, the great legendary musician and guitarist. This was his idea. This was his, he launched this ship. He called me 5 years ago and he said, Peter, we need to make this film right now. And, he signed a check, and, here we are 5 years later, and in the Trump era. And I think Dolores' example and organizing work ethic is needed now more than ever.
And Dolores said, did Carlos ask you about it first before he approached Peter?
Actually, no. They just called me up and said, hey, we want to do a film about you. And I said, well, I had been approached by other people, and I didn't feel that I really wanted a film about my life. Then, of course, when Carlos calls, you don't say no to Carlos Santana. No way.
He's the boss.
He's a boss.
Now, the film doesn't shy away from telling, not just the good stuff, but the bad stuff. It's not sappy. It's real. And you see your children talk about how your activism affected them. Was it hard seeing them on camera?
Well, I knew that, I had left my kids behind, but I also took my kids with me. When I went to New York City, we only left one child behind. We took the rest of them to New York. And they grew up in the movement, so they grew up marching and picketing and doing all these great things. So it really made them very strong. And that's what I want to say to all mothers out there. Take your kids to the marches, take them to the protests, take them to meetings even. Okay, because you might think that they're not really absorbing anything, but they are. And when they can tell these experiences as they become older, nobody has to tell them about social justice or movements, because they will have lived it, by being involved. And I know it's always hard, and I'm not the only one. I think all mothers at work have this issue about, what am I going to do with my kids? I have to go to work, I have to feed my kids, but I have to work. And so we're always scrambling to try to see who's going to help us with our kids.
And Peter, did you know going in you wanted to portray it as a woman leading the charge, but also a family life, and just balancing all sorts of areas?
I mean, I had watched other films about historical, iconic figures, and I often feel there's always like a distance, because they're superhuman, and I if you know Dolores, she's just real, and I think if you see her any kind of function, she'll stay until the last person. She doesn't care who you are. She'll stay till the last person comes, and when she speaks with farm workers or people who work in Washington, D.C. and live at the White House, she's just fully engaged no matter who you are. And so she's of the people. And so I felt like we needed to show not just her and her legendary work, but we needed to show like the full dimension of who she is as a person.
Were you surprised at when her children were on camera talking about the experience?
I mean, I knew Dolores when I was around her when I was a child, and then
your mom, right?
My mom was also an activist and a powerhouse, and I knew some of her children, and so I only knew her children as activists, and so they were part of the movement. They're continuing to carry on their mother's legacy in many ways, and so I knew that their voice had to be important. And as a Latino, the family it's the center of the culture, and so her story it's also a family story, and I thought that was just so crucial to include.
It's nice to see all your children continuing your legacy. Is it nice to work with them?
Oh, yes, it is. And, my kids, we were always pretty much together throughout the struggle. And I was saying before about how children become strong. My oldest son is a doctor. He's a family practice doctor. My son Emilio is an attorney, civil rights attorney, running for Congress in the 21st Congressional District down there in Bakersfield, California. I have a daughter, Juanita, who taught for 14 years and just recently quit teaching to come and work with my foundation. with half the salary that she was making as a teacher. My daughter Angela is an oncology nurse, and my daughter Maria Elena is a director of YWCA Center in Los Angeles, and my youngest daughter Camila Chavez is the executive director of our foundation. So the kids they all grew up strong, and my other kids are really involved, and I think that is the greatest payoff that I have for my children, is that they're politically active, they believe in social justice, and they're also working in their own fashion, in the way that they work, to be able to make sure that they can help other people.
Yeah, I mean, the most shocking, I didn't know you had 11 children. I was like, wow, I mean, you accomplished so much.
Well, I think I was very blessed, and of course it was just me. I'm kind of like, get the recognition like Cesar did, but so, it wasn't just me. It was a lot of women that were out there also working, but then also the people that were killed in the movement just to get toilets and drinking water for farm workers and toilets in the fields and the right to organize and employment insurance. They're the people that really, I think, need to be recognized, those that really gave their lives. 5 of our martyrs, Nan Friedman, a young 18-year-old Jewish girl from Boston, Naji Daifala, a young Arab from Yemen, who was killed by a deputy sheriff, Juan de la Cruz, who was shot in the heart by a labor contractor, Rufino Contreras, from Calexico, who was met with a hail of bullets as he went in to talk to strikebreakers, and our last one, Rene Lopez, 19-year-old farm worker who organized his company to vote for the union, and people who were beaten and went to jail. All of these people, and all the people out there in the American public that didn't eat grapes and supported the farm workers movement, these are all the people that need to be recognized, and the people that are out there today organizing in their communities. So, and that's a beautiful thing I think about power. When you empower people and you share that power, then you really, really are able to make a lot of people strong, our community strong, and hopefully our nation strong, and we can get the rest of the people to also join in.
Now you feel all sorts of emotions, especially the part where you're talking about, where you see all these, abuses of power. Did you want to reflect that in the documentary as well?
I mean, like I mentioned earlier, we couldn't foresee the current political climate, but I think if you look at the film, and this kind of blows my mind, is that the film's coming out right now, and the timing, you couldn't plan it. You can't plan it like that. So I think if you look at the film, you're going to see so many parallels to what's happening right now. I mean, whether it's Black Lives Matter or the Women's March, or LGBT equality, or the immigration debate, or combating, confronting racial justice or injustice in this country. That all those issues are right now at the center. And so I think when people see the film, they're like, oh my God, the more things change, the more they stay the same. And so, but again, I think Dolores, who would have known? Like back then, you see, when you stand back and you look at her work, she was living at the intersection of all these different movements. And today, I think young activists can look at her work, and we have to move beyond silo organizing. We really have to work with each other because, as you see in the film, they're all interconnected.
Yeah. And I was at the Women's March. I took my niece, and we saw a lot of kids and a lot of families. Were you there? Did you see the families that were together and being active in protest?
Actually, we were really fortunate because we were actually at Sundance, because the day of the inauguration, that's the day the film came out in Sundance. And so, but we got to join the Women's March in Parks, Nevada. They're at Sundance. And now we want people to also join, because in 2018, we're going to have congressional elections. Every single congressperson in the House of Representatives have to run for re-election. So we have a really good opportunity to build our own wall. A wall of congressional resistance and representation, and to stop the policies of Donald Trump, or to overturn the policies that he's already made that are going to be negative for our community. And so it's a Si Se Puede moment for all of us. And, we hope the film inspires you to come and join and organize at your local community, get good people elected to your school board and to your city council, and to Sacramento and to Washington, D.C. This is our moment. This is our moment so that we can push back and let them know that they cannot get away with attacking the dreamers and Latinos and undocumented people and people of color and women's reproductive rights and our transgender community. Ahora es cuando, this is it. This is our moment.
And
we can go out there and
change
organize.
happening.
Yes, we can do it. So we have, like I say, it's a Si Se Puede moment for all of us.
Well, I think this film really inspires, because it inspired me to go organize. and be part of the change, you know. So thank you for giving us this film. Thank you.